The difference between those who achieve greatness and those who settle for mediocrity lies in an uncomfortable truth: their ability to face what others are unwilling to confront. And today, you will discover exactly why you have been a prisoner of procrastination and how Napoleon Hill uncovered the specific method to break this cycle once and for all. If you're watching this, you probably already recognize that paralyzing feeling. You know exactly what you need to do, but something inside you whispers softly that you can leave it for later. Doubt, fear, and exhaustion whisper that you should abandon your path. But here's the truth that few understand. Procrastination is not laziness. It is a mental prison that keeps you away from the extraordinary version of yourself that already exists within you. Napoleon Hill, the man who had exclusive access to more than 500 millionaires and spent 25 years decoding the mental patterns of the most influential industrialists in history, discovered something that will change your perspective forever. He realized that the difference between failure and success was not in external circumstances, but in something you completely control: the internal dialogue that happens within your mind every second. 1. The unquestionable authority of Napoleon Hill. Before revealing the method that will forever change your relationship with procrastination, you need to understand why Napoleon Hill's words carry the weight they do. We're not talking about modern self-help theory. We're talking about a man who had direct access to the secrets of industrial giants who built the modern world. Andrew Carnegie, the steel magnate who at the time was one of the richest people on the planet, personally chose Napoleon Hill for an extraordinary mission. Carnegie had observed that certain people always found a way to win, while others with the same opportunities consistently failed. Intro end. He wanted to discover what separated the winners from the losers. Hill spent 2 decades interviewing Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, John D. Rockefeller, Alexander Graham Bell, and hundreds of other business titans. He wasn't just collecting inspiring stories, he was mapping the mental patterns that led to extraordinary success. And what he discovered about internal dialogue shocked even him. Imagine for a moment, you're in Thomas Edison's laboratory. It's attempt number 1347 to create the electric light bulb. Your assistants whisper that you're an impossible dreamer, but Edison had an internal conversation completely different from the average person. When others saw failure, Edison would tell himself, "I've just discovered one more way that doesn't work. I'm closer to the solution." Each failed attempt was mental fuel for the next. Henry Ford faced the same mental challenge. Bankers laughed at the idea of cars for the masses, but Ford possessed an internal system of self-conversation that transformed each no into renewed determination. What Hill realized is that these men weren't naturally more courageous or more intelligent than average. They had simply mastered the art of directing their internal dialogue in a way that propelled them forward, instead of sabotaging them. 2. The devastating psychology of procrastination, according to Hill. Now here's the crucial point that Hill discovered. Procrastination isn't a character flaw. It is the direct result of an uncontrolled internal dialogue that works against you 24 hours a day. Think of procrastination as a digital virus infecting your mental operating system. Your subconscious mind cannot distinguish between imagined scenarios and real experiences. When you repeatedly tell yourself, "I'll do this later," or "I don't have energy now," you're literally programming your brain to avoid action. However, here's the crucial point. The industrialists Hill studied had discovered the antidote. They had learned to intercept and reprogram these self-destructive internal conversations before they gained momentum. For them, each procrastination thought was an opportunity to strengthen their mental discipline, like an athlete who uses every obstacle to get stronger. The great visionaries who transformed our world didn't choose the easy path. They developed the ability to speak to themselves in a way that converted discomfort into fuel, fear into focus, and procrastination into immediate action. 3. The fundamentals of Hill's self-conversation methodology. What Hill discovered through his interviews with more than 500 extraordinary people is that they all, consciously or unconsciously, followed 3 fundamental principles in their self-conversation. These aren't abstract concepts. They're practical, tools that you can implement immediately. First principle, absolute clarity about what you want. Hill observed something fascinating. People who procrastinate always have vague goals. I want to be successful is like trying to navigate without a compass. I want to increase my income by 30% in the next 6 months through 3 specific clients is a direct command to your subconscious mind. Second principle, emotional command. Over your internal narrative. The millionaires Hill studied didn't wait for motivation, they manufactured it. Rockefeller had a specific phrase he would repeat when he felt doubt. Every obstacle is a disguised opportunity. They literally talked themselves back into action. Third principle, action as an automatic reflex. Hill discovered that these people had reprogrammed their default response. For them, internal resistance was like an alarm, an immediate signal. To act, not to hesitate. 4. Preparing for day one transformation. This is where most people fail when trying to implement Hill's principles. They attempt to change everything at once. Hill observed that lasting transformation happens through small but consistent changes in internal dialogue. That's why we developed a specific protocol for day one that honors Hill's insights while respecting how your mind actually works. Tomorrow, you're not going to try to become a completely different person. You'll implement a simple yet powerful self-conversation system that Hill extracted from the mental patterns of the most successful industrialists in history. You'll learn exactly what to say to yourself when you feel the urge to procrastinate, and more importantly, how to say it in a way your subconscious mind cannot resist. The great industrialists, inventors, and visionaries Hill studied did not possess superpowers. They possessed specific mental systems that you can replicate. And tomorrow, you'll start installing these systems in your own mind. Remember, your mind is the most powerful tool you possess. But a powerful tool in the hands of someone who doesn't know how to use it can be more dangerous than useful. Hill spent 25 years discovering exactly how the most successful people use this tool. And tomorrow, you'll learn to do the same. But before we reveal the practical method, you need to understand why previous approaches failed. 5. What makes Hill's method different from everything you've ever tried? If you've tried to overcome procrastination before without lasting results, here's why. You were fighting the symptoms, not the root cause. Imagine trying to cure a fever by only taking painkillers without treating the infection. Most approaches try to force you into action through discipline and willpower. But Hill discovered something deeper. He realized that procrastination is actually a defense mechanism your mind developed to protect you from discomfort. When you try to force action through pure willpower, you're essentially entering a mental civil war, and your mind always wins that war. However, here's the crucial point. Hill's method works with your mind, not against it. It's like learning to ride a wave instead of fighting against it. You use the ocean's natural force to your advantage. Edison didn't overcome procrastination through brute force. He had developed an internal conversation system that made action more comfortable than inaction. Ford didn't force himself to work. He had programmed his mind to associate work with pleasure and progress with identity. However, here's the crucial point that most people don't understand about self-conversation. It's not what you say to yourself that matters. It's how you say it, when you say it, and what emotional state you cultivate while saying it. Hill documented these exact patterns through his interviews, and tomorrow you'll learn to apply them. But here's where most people fail with self-conversation. Now that you've understood the psychological fundamentals, it's time to transform theory into practical action. You already understand that self-suggestion can reprogram your subconscious mind. But how do so many people still fail when trying to implement these techniques? The answer lies in the lack of a structured sequential system. Napoleon Hill discovered that success doesn't come from theoretical knowledge, but from the disciplined application of specific principles day after day. Today, I'll reveal the 3-day sequential authority framework that transforms chronic procrastinators into execution machines. This is not just another generic method. It's the exact system that great business leaders and visionaries use to conquer the impossible. Day 1 Foundation, Hill's self-suggestion patterns. First, you must establish absolute clarity. Define precisely what you want to achieve. Success doesn't come to those who merely wish for it. Thomas Edison failed countless times before perfecting the electric light bulb. Critics called him foolish, but Edison had a morning routine few knew about. He would spend exactly 15 minutes visualizing each experiment before even entering the laboratory. Here's your first mandatory exercise. Tomorrow, before any task, you'll dedicate 15 minutes to what I call authority programming. Sit in silence and mentally repeat, I am a person who acts immediately on their priorities. My mind is programmed to execute, not to postpone. But be careful. Don't let it be just a weak internal voice. Hill discovered that emotion is the fuel of suggestion. When you repeat these words mentally, feel the energy of determination coursing through your body. Visualize yourself completing your most important tasks with ease and precision. However, here's the crucial point. Most people fail because they treat this as an optional exercise. You must understand, your subconscious mind does not distinguish between imagined scenarios and real experiences. When you program these success images with genuine emotion, you are literally training your brain to recognize execution as its natural state. Day 2. Amplification, resistance and intensification techniques. 2. The technique for confronting internal resistance. Henry Ford revolutionized the automotive industry, facing ridicule and doubts. But Ford had a secret. He transformed each mental obstacle into fuel for action. On the second day, you will encounter resistance. Your mind will whisper subtle excuses. Maybe it's better to start tomorrow. This project is too complex. You don't have enough time. Every time you detect a procrastination thought, you will apply what I call the direct confrontation technique. Stop immediately what you are doing and say out loud, I recognize this procrastination thought, but I choose to act right now. Then, immediately take a micro-action related to your priority. It doesn't need to be perfect, it doesn't need to be complete, just a small, concrete action. For example, if you're postponing an important report, open the document and write just the title and first paragraph. If you're avoiding a difficult call, pick up the phone and dial the first few numbers. Doubt, fear, and fatigue can whisper softly for you to abandon your path. But you are not like the masses who give in to the first resistance. The great industrialists, inventors, and visionaries who transformed our world did not choose the easy path. They developed mental muscles through consistent practice of immediate action. Day 3. Mastery, integration, and habit formation. 3. The secret to permanently overcoming challenges. On the third day, you will experience what Hill called the crystallization moment, when the new mental programming becomes automatic. Rockefeller made it a habit to mentally review his successes before going to bed. He not only visualized future achievements, but reinforced his daily victories, no matter how small. Your mission on the third day is to create what I call the solidification ritual. Before going to bed, you will mentally review all the moments of the day when you chose action over procrastination. Even if you acted only once, celebrate that victory. Tell yourself, today I proved that I am someone who acts. Tomorrow, I will be even stronger. And just as they faced obstacles, you can overcome yours too. But here's the element that transforms all of this from a temporary exercise into permanent change. You must connect each action you take with your deepest identity. When you complete a task, don't just say, I finished this. Say, I am the type of person who delivers on what I promise. When you resist a procrastination temptation, don't just think I managed. Think, this is another proof that I am someone who chooses discipline over comfort. Real-world application. 4. Establishing goals with the principle of immediate execution. Let me share how these principles work in real situations. Imagine you have an important project that you have been avoiding for weeks. Your mind has created an intimidating mountain around it. Let's follow Sarah, an entrepreneur who applied exactly this system. Day 1. Mental programming. Sarah dedicated 15 minutes visualizing herself executing each step with ease. not as a fantasy, but as mental training. I am someone who transforms ideas into concrete results. Day 2, direct confrontation. When resistance appeared, and it did appear, Sarah applied the technique. I recognize this fear, but I choose to take a micro-action now. She opened the project and worked for just 10 minutes without any interruptions. Day 3, identity reinforcement. Sarah celebrated those 10 minutes as a victory. I proved that I am an executor, not a procrastinator. This celebration programmed her mind to seek more similar successes. Result: in a week, what was an intimidating mountain transformed into a series of conquerable hills. 5. The power of self-confidence against mental sabotage. But what if I forget to apply the techniques? You will forget. Everyone forgets at the beginning. The secret is not in perfection, but in quick recovery. When you realize you've returned to old patterns, don't punish yourself. Simply say, "Old pattern detected, activating execution protocol," and take a micro-action immediately. What if the tasks are too big and complex? Hill taught that every big project is just a sequence of small, organized actions. Divide any task into 25-minute segments. Focus only on the next segment, never on the entire project. What if I don't feel motivated? Motivation is a luxury, not a necessity. Truly disciplined people act especially when they don't feel like it. It's exactly in these moments that you strengthen your executor character. Remember, your moment is now. There is no perfect timing, ideal energy, or ideal conditions. There is only this moment and the choice to act or procrastinate. The complete transformation. And here we arrive at the truth that few understand. You now possess exactly what you came to find, the specific method that Napoleon Hill discovered to break the procrastination cycle once and for all. Procrastination is not a character flaw. It's simply a set of poorly programmed mental patterns that can be reprogrammed through the specific techniques we just revealed: authority programming, direct resistance confrontation, and identity reinforcement. Napoleon Hill spent decades studying the most successful individuals of his time. He discovered that they all had one common characteristic: the ability to transform intentions into immediate actions through these same self-conversation patterns that you have just learned. You weren't born a procrastinator. You simply learned procrastination patterns through unconscious repetition. And if you can learn procrastination, you can learn execution just the same. But there's a crucial difference between those who apply these principles once and forget, and those who transform them into permanent victories. Winners understand that each small executed action is an investment in the most disciplined version of themselves. Tomorrow, when mental resistance appears, and it will appear, remember this feeling. Use it as fuel for the first micro-action. What actions are you going to take today? Because here's the reality that defines everything. You can watch hundreds of productivity videos, read dozens of books about discipline, participate in expensive time management workshops, but none of that will change your life if you don't apply at least one of these principles today. So here's my advice for you. Before going to bed today, spend 15 minutes on the authority programming exercise we revealed. Choose a task you've been postponing for at least a week. Visualize yourself executing it with ease and confidence. Feel the satisfaction of completion running through your body. Tomorrow, when mental resistance appears, and it will appear, remember this feeling. Use it as fuel for the first micro-action. If you do this for 3 consecutive days, you'll experience something extraordinary. The feeling of being someone who acts instead of someone who just plans to act. And when you feel this transformation happening, consider sharing your experience in the comments. Your journey of overcoming procrastination may be exactly what someone else needs to take that first step. The time procrastination has stolen from your life won't come back. But every moment from now on can be different. You have the method, you have the knowledge that great visionaries in history used. Your moment is now. Start today.